Hey YouTube, what's up? Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to my messy workbench test of the Furitek Lizard ESC compared to the Modellbauregler DE AS126 and AS125 brushed ESCs. That's what a lot of you have been waiting for. So in this video I will test probably the best micro ESCs for brushed motors and compare them. There are not a lot of micro ESCs for brushed motors and brushed cars available, or trucks or crawlers on the market. And when I made my video best ESC for micro crawlers in January this year, I tested 9 different tiny ESCs, and this was the majority of ESCs that was available at this time. I did know only 2 or 3 more ESCs, tiny ESCs for brushed motors, which would have been suitable for tiny trucks like the SCX24 or the CR18's Katana. And I tested all that were available for me at this time. And at this time in January, there was no Furitek. So nobody knew about the Furitek ESCs. If Furitek ESCs would have been available at this time, I, of course, would also have tested Furitek's, but nobody knew about Furitek's in January 21. They have been released, I guess, end of January, February, and a lot of videos pumped up at this time. In this video, I will not test the Furitek Lizard ESC with a brushless motor. I did already make videos about this. I will test the Furitek Lizard in brushed motors, and therefore I prepared quite a lot of trucks, but I will not tell you after this video which is the best ESC for microcrawlers, for the SCX24, for the Rockopi Katana, for the Atlas, for the tiny 1 to 24th crawlers. You can choose. You will get every information, and then you can think about it and say that's the best ESC for me. I can tell you already now that none of those ESCs will be a disappointment for you. All of them work awesome, but there are differences, and all of those do have positives and negatives. And I paid for my ESCs. This is not a promotion video. That's what I really didn't like in the first videos about the Furitek ESCs. Those were for me simply promotion videos. After I received my first Furitek's, I knew, only showing the positive parts and hiding the negative parts. I really did not like this game changer stuff. All of those are no game changers. All of those 3 ESCs here work awesome, and all have their advantages and their disadvantages. And I paid for my ESCs. I paid for all of those. I don't have any connection to Modellbauregler DE, and I do not have any connection to Furitek either. I did already have contact to Furitek customer support in Vietnam, to Tony. They were super helpful and fast to me, because I had problems with my first Furitek Lizards bought from ESCs, and it took months, and finally Furitek from Vietnam replaced the broken ESCs for free and not ESCs. So thumbs up for Furitek. But I also did already have contact to Michael from Modellbauregler DE, because I had troubles with the BSC of the AS1215. It won't affect you in an SCX24 or a microcrawler at all, but they were also super helpful. So both companies top for me concerning customer service. No complaint. I paid for all of my stuff, and I will show you all positives and all negatives of each of those ESCs now, and I will not hide anything. And in the end of the video, you probably can make your decision if you are interested to buy an ESC for your SCX24 with a brushed motor, or for your Rockopi Katana, your CR18, your Atlas 6x6. In this video I will test the ESCs with Barrage motors. Those are those motors of that size, which came in the ECX Barrage, but also in the small RGTs, which come in the Rockopi Katana in the Atlas 6x6. Those are the motors of this size. They seem to be all the same motor, all to have the same labeling, no matter if Hobby Plus or RGT or ECX. And I will also test with the SCX24 stock brushed motor. The Barrage motor does have 555 turns. The SCX24 motor has 88 turns, as you can see. And I will test the motors with different radios too. I will test it in those small RGTs using the turbo racing radio. Those are those cheap radios and receivers which come with all those tiny trucks, and that's the little bit upgrade version with model memory. And I will test the ESCs with the SCX24 stock radio, and I did do a lot of RPM tests with those motors, measuring RPMs with this setup, and therefore I used my FlySky Noble radio. I will test a little bit in the beginning with those two tiny 1/24 RGTs. Those are those super tiny 1/24 trucks which do come with a Barrage motor, because those trucks, as all these CR18 Hobby Plus trucks, do not have worm gears. And then I will put one of those upgrade ESCs in my SCX24s, which are totally stock. In those three I didn't change anything. This deadbolt is absolutely brand new. Bought it on a promotion, probably only for this video. I have never driven it. I will put an ES1215 into the deadbolt, probably ES126 from Modellbauregler.de into my Chevy, and the Betty will get the Furitek Lizard in brushed setup. And then we will compare all these trucks, how they do with the different ESCs. Everything totally stock, but ESC. In the SCX24 you can simply plug one of those ESCs to the original electronics receiver ESC unit and use an external ESC. You can do this also with the Panda Hobby trucks, but you cannot do this with the Hobby Plus trucks or the Rockopi Katana, Atlas 6x6, the RGT 1/24s. Therefore you will have to replace the ESC receiver unit and use a different new receiver and the ESC. Someone commented under my best ESC for microcrawlers videos, the best ESC is the Furitek. Well, I guess he didn't ever test a Modellbauregler.de ESC, so it's difficult to say. And probably he's a fanboy. I recommend to watch this video and then he can tell the Furitek is the best or not. Here I do now have those two 1/24 RGT trucks. They do have exactly the same chassis. There is no difference but body posts, same motor, both really quite new. And in this one I have the Furitek Lizard. Of course I did Calibrate Throttle and I did set punch to 1. That's what it comes for the brushed setup, and you will see later that is the setup you should use. And I of course do have crawler mode, forward, reverse, and of course I calibrated throttle. So that's how I will do this test now. And the first test will be drag brake. Many of you seem to be super interested in drag brake. I don't know why, but those are many questions. Do the Modellbauregler.de ESCs have drag brake? So what will I do now? I will test and show drag brake first. Then I will show the results of my measurements with the RPM meter, and then we will do run tests shortly with those RGT trucks with Barrage motor. I will also show drag brake in the Rokkobi Katana, and then we will test the SCX24s, 3 SCX24s with 3 different ESCs, everything else stock setup. So first let's talk about drag brake. I don't know if every one of you knows what drag brake is. Drag brake is simply shortcutting the motor wire, and those tiny motors with the magnets should stop the car or truck then. But of course, such tiny motors as the SCX24 motor and also the Barrage motor do have nearly no drag brake. The larger the motor, of course, the more drag brake force it does have, and 3 slot do have more than 5 slot. But however, I will show that the Modellbauregler DE ESCs do not have drag brake, and it doesn't affect even a truck without warm gears. And I will show that the Furitek Lizard does have drag brake and it stops a little bit better. And then I will also show you the drag brake of the SCX24 with the Modellbauregler ESC, and you will see that drag brake is not important at all in an SCX24 with warm gears. Initially I wanted to test those trucks side by side. Both are connected to the same radio now, but unfortunately this does not work because you see the Modellbauregler DE does already run and the Furitek does not yet run, so we will show this later, how the driving behavior is and how the trucks run. But first let's show drag brake, and therefore that's the ES1215 ESC. Let's let it climb, and you see it does stop even if it does not have drag brake. However, it will not stop always. You see now it rolls a little bit back. I can go back and it rolls, and in reverse direction same thing. It stops even without drag brake, but if I go down it rolls a little bit, but it's super easy to stop. And what you heard here is the second truck. I forgot to put it on its back. And now we will see the RGT1224 with the Furitek Lizard. And you will see, come on. You see it will always stop. It does also have, you will see it later, not as good reverse driving behavior, but it will never roll, it will always stop, because the Furitek Lizard does have drag brake in such small trucks. So light without body, even here the drag brake does have an effect. So drag brake in the Furitek, no drag brake in the ES1215. Winner if you want, so only drag brake the Furitek. And now let's switch those off, and I will show you a much heavier truck. The Rokkobi Katana, super heavy, as you know, because of its hard body, and this does have an ES126, a small ESC here inside. And now we will see how it does in an ESC without drag brake. So come on, don't do this. Won't you climb the step? Yes, it does. You see, the larger katana does have, of course, much more weight, and the non-existent drag brake of the ESC should have a much larger effect, but it doesn't have a big effect, if any. So I will go reverse now, go forward. You see, no drag brake, a little bit of rolling. So drag brake is really not important here, but the Modellbauregler, the ESCs, do not have a drag brake. And now let's put the Furitek Lizard into the Rokkobi Katana and check how it does with drag brake. So now Lizard connected to the receiver in the Rokkobi Katana, which is super heavy. I didn't remove all the other stuff, so let's try with open hood. And you see it will stop immediately. No rolling because of drag brake. So I can go forward and stop. So this point, drag brake goes to the Furitek Lizard, even if it's not super important, and only if you want a 100% drag brake. And finally, I will show you now the drag brake of the SCX24 with an ES126 and in a truck with warm gears. Drag brake does even has less effect. So check this out. It will always stop because warm gears do have much more force to be than normal ring and pinion gears. So with an ES126, I would say perfect behavior. That's it with the question drag brake. I hope this is answered. Drag brake, winner, Furitek Lizard. And now I will show you the results of my measurements. I did do RPM measurements with the Lizard in different setups, and with the ES126 and with the ES126. Therefore I used this setup. Where are my motors? That's my RPM measuring device. Super cheap, but works nicely. You see, that way. And therefore I used my FlySky Nova radio and used trim steps. So I measured RPMs with all of those ESCs, with the Barrage motor and also with the SCX24 motor. It's lost now. Where is it? Here it is. And measured RPMs in forward from 0 to 120, what are 60 trim steps, and the same in reverse. And I made graphs about the results. And in the Furitek Lizard I did do those measurements with punch settings to 1 and to 10. So this will come now, and after this we will do a little bit more driving with the small RGT and then with all the SCX24s with those different ESCs. So if you are not interested in the results of the RPM measurements of the motors with the different ESCs, you should jump to. So that's about how I did my measurements. Of course, I filmed it. I won't show you the filming now. And then transferred the results to charts and made my graphs. But first, some words about the ESCs. First, about the Furitek Lizard. The Furitek Lizard is a brushless ESC, an ESC for a brushless motor, which also can handle brushed motors, but that's of course not made for it, so it's not perfect for brushed motors. And a brushless ESC can only bring about 95% of maximum power. So you will see this when I show you the results of the maximum RPM the ESCs or the motors can bring with the ESCs, that the motors with the Furitek Lizard are a little bit slower, lower RPM than with the Modellbauregler ESCs. And the Modellbauregler ESCs, the Es126 and the Es126, those are no car ESCs. This Es126, that's a super old ESC, already available for more than 10 years, unchanged. It's made for boats and quite popular here in construction models. And the same, the little bit newer, different Es126 tiny ESC without BEC. So those ESCs are not meant to be used in RC trucks or crawlers. They are made for different purposes, but however, they work super nicely. And I didn't only test the trim steps and how the ESCs respond with the 120 maximum trim steps. Of course, I also tested maximum RPM in forward, in reverse, of course always with fully charged batteries. And with the Barrage motor, I got 26,900 forward maximum and 26,300 reverse maximum with the Lizard ESC. And with the Es126 with the Barrage motor, I got 28,000 in forward and 29,030 maximum in reverse. And with the Es126 and the Barrage motor, 28,500 in forward and 29,550 in reverse. And with the small SCX24 motor, here it is, I got 30,300 RPM in forward and 29,500 in reverse direction with the Lizard ESC, and 33,400 forward, 32,200 with the Es126, and 32,000 and 33,700 with the Es126. And with the Lizard ESC, changing punch from 1 to 10 didn't have any effect, shouldn't have and didn't have any effect on the maximum RPM. But the little bit lower RPM and lower high speed of these motors with the Lizard ESC than with the Es126 ESCs, it's because the Lizard is a brushless ESC and 95% maximum here is normal. And now let's see the results. Here now the Furitek Lizard brushed with punch 1 settings and the Barrage motor. What you can see here on this graph on the y-axis, the RPMs I measured up to 14,000 here, and on the x-axis in center 0 trim, and to the right up to trim 120 in 60 steps, and to the left up to trim minus 120 of my fly sky noble, also in 60 steps. And what you see, the motor starts to spin at 50, and then there's quite a smooth increase in forward, and at 120 it goes to 8,000 something RPMs, and it starts with around a little bit less than 1,000 RPM. But what you can see here in reverse direction, there is no spinning of the motor. The Barrage motor did not spin with the Furitek Lizard in punch 1 settings, even not at -120. I will show you now what I mean. So here you can see settings punch 1 with the Furitek Lizard ESC and the Barrage motor. It of course runs in forward and reverse direction, but if I go to trim and go forward, it will start at around 50. But in reverse direction, -120, and the motor still does not spin. Of course it does spin if I go more to reverse. And now let's check the Lizard in punch 10 settings with the Barrage motor. And what you can see here now, it did spin in reverse direction, and it did spin of course in forward direction. It did already start much earlier at 34, but with much higher RPMs, more than 7,000 RPMs. It's the lowest RPM you could get with this punch 10 settings. Then there was no increase for some clicks, and then there was a smooth increase of RPMs up to nearly 14,000 RPMs. So that's nothing for crawling, I guess. Low speed modulation or low speed control, not good. You won't have any low RPMs. And what you can see in reverse direction here, it did start to spin in contrary to punch 1 settings. It did start at 98, -98, but then there was no increase with the trim steps of RPMs, so a flat line. It stayed at 7,000, around 300 RPMs, and the dotted line steps back. The motor started to spin at 98, but when then going reverse, it still did not stop to spin up to, what's that, 80 exactly. I show you what I mean with this. So now let's set punch to 10 with the Barrage motor, and you will see if I go back, now the motor will spin. You see it starts at, I was too fast. 100, and if I go back, 98, 96, 94, 92, 90, 88, 86, 84, 82, still spins, and if I go forward again, it starts at 100. That's what I mean with steps back. So this was only in the reverse direction. In forward direction there was no steps back, and this did happen with some settings but not in all. And now let's check the Es126 Modellbauregler.de ESC. And what you can see here, there's a big difference in forward and in reverse direction. In forward direction there was a larger dead zone, or is a larger dead zone with the Es126. It did only start at 80 or 78 to spin the motor, and then there was an increase, kind of waveform but smooth increase, even a little bit flatter than the Furitek Lizard increase at punch 1, up to only around 4,000, and it did already start to spin with far less than 1,700 over RPMs. But the biggest difference is in reverse direction, because it did run normally in reverse direction. So as in forward direction, it started to spin at 58, and then there was an increase of RPMs starting at around 700-800 up to 6,500, while in the Furitek there seems to be no control in reverse with punch 1, even no spinning of the motor up to trim step -120, and with punch 10, what you wouldn't use anyway for crawling, never ever, there was a spinning starting at 98 with a huge high RPMs, more than 7,000, and no increase in the area of the trim steps, straight line. So the Furitek motor with punch 1 in front direction seems to have nearly the same, very similar smooth behavior of throttle increase as the ES1215 does. It does have a smaller dead zone. The ES1215 does have a larger dead zone. This can be good or bad, and if you use better radios you can adjust this anyway. But in reverse direction there is a difference, because with punch 1 you don't have really low speed reverse throttle control, while you do have this in the ES1215. And finally, let's also check the ES126, the small Modellbauregler DE ESC with a Barrage motor. And what you can see here in reverse, it's very, very similar, probably equal to the ES1215, but those two have different programming. Those are different ESCs. The ES1215 is much older and does use different parts, and also does have different programming. And in forward direction it starts a little bit earlier than the ES1215. It's 68 or something. Does have also a very smooth increase with these waves, so not a line as straight as in the Furitek Lizard. So no increase of RPM for 1 or 2 steps, then again increase, similar to the ES1215, but it does also have a perfect reverse control, which is totally missing in the Lizard in punch 1 settings. But probably many of you want to see those results compared to the brushless motor, the Lizard with the Surpass or the Komodo motor, and those are the results of the Furitek Lizard in brushless setting, punch 3, or the stock setting with the Komodo motor. And what you can see here, the most important thing, those super low RPMs are in this area. You won't see it in this graph very well, but I did make a couple of videos where I show those settings. So this is the super slow crawling behavior, what's so absolutely awesome. And then there is this huge 1000 RPM, nearly RPM step, and then there is a very, very smooth increase of RPMs. But don't forget, the maximum RPMs I measured for the Furitek Komodo motor with the Lizard is less than 6000 RPM, 5950, while with the Barrage motor I measured nearly 30,000 RPM maximum. And of course the brushless motor does have much more power than the Barrage motor. And now let's check this with the SCX24 stock motor. So that's the Furitek Lizard in punch 1 with the 88 turn SCX24 stock motor. And you can see here 0 in reverse. Now it does spin at 98 trim steps, and then there's a flat line, so no increase of RPMs in the further trim steps. And there is also this step back, so if you go back it spins till 80. And in forward direction it does already start to spin at 32 or 34, but it does not start with that low RPM as the Barrage motor, it jumps immediately to more than 3000 RPM as in reverse direction. Then there is no increase for some clicks and then very smooth increase of RPMs. But in contrary to the Barrage motor, I will show this later, it is missing the low RPMs, and of course the tiny motor is also not as strong as the Barrage motor. And in punch 10, the SCX24 motor with the Furitek Lizard ESC, same picture as before, probably nobody would use this. It starts at 32 also, but does start with already 10,000 RPMs, and same picture in reverse direction, more than 10,000 RPMs is the minimum RPM you will get with the Lizard, the SCX24 motor, and settings punch 10. And now let's check the ES1215 with the SCX24 motor, Modellbauregler.de. Very nice, smooth increase, but also the lowest RPM is around 2000 here, and also in reverse direction, so not as low as it was with the Barrage motor. Beside this, a very similar picture to the Lizard in punch 1 settings in forward direction, but not in reverse direction. With the Lizard, you don't have really a reverse control at very low throttle input. With the Modellbauregler.de you do have it. But you also do have this jump from 0 to 2000 at lowest RPM of the SCX24 motor. And finally, the ES126 with the SCX24 motor. Also have some steps back here. Very similar picture. Incline seems to be a little bit steeper than in the 1215 and in the Lizard, in forward direction and also in reverse direction, but you have control in reverse and in forward direction. And also with the SCX24 motor you do have a jump to around 2000 RPM as lowest RPM you will get, in contrary to the Barrage motor where you got much lower RPMs. And now let's also compare this to the brushless Komodo motor with the Lizard. Same picture as before, and that's the interesting area. Graphs showing those areas with the super slow crawl in detail are in my videos about the brushless setup. And now let's compare the SCX24 motor to the Barrage motor. Here with the punch 1 settings of the Furitek Lizard, the Barrage motor dashed, full line and dots the SCX24 motor. What you can see, the Barrage motor does have much lower RPMs, not this huge step up to nearly 3000 here. It starts much smoother, and of course what you will not see here, it's also much stronger, but there is no reverse control at very low throttle input. So the Lizard with the Barrage motor did not spin up to -120. With the SCX24 motor it did start at around 100. And now let's check this also with punch 10. We wouldn't use this for crawling, never ever. More than 10,000 RPMs as lowest RPMs with the SCX24 motor, and dashed line more than 7,000 RPMs with the Barrage motor, and in reverse direction same picture. The ES1215 from Modellbauregler.de, dashed line Barrage motor, full line SCX24 motor. You see the same picture. The tiny SCX24 motor does have a nice smooth increase, but lowest RPM are around 2000, while with the Barrage motor you can start at around 500-600. And in reverse it's the same picture. And Finally, the Es126 Esc, the tiny one, dashed line, Barrage motor, full line and dots, SCX24 motor, and the same picture. With the Barrage motor, much lower RPMs are possible, so better slow crawl is possible for sure in forward and reverse direction, in contrary to the Lizard ESC. And with the SCX24 motor, the lowest RPMs are more than 2000. So if you have seen my bench tests and RPM measurements now, one would expect me too that the Furitek Lizard ESC would start the motor earlier than the, here's the Es126 Esc on this truck, but in reality, you see the Es126 truck does already start, and the Furitek Lizard in front does start much later, so that's rather strange, and I don't have an explanation for this because those are absolutely the same chassis, totally everything equal, even same batteries, same charging status, but to be not unfair, I don't know the reason for this. Let's simply swap out the ESCs and put the Es126 to this with the short posts and the Furitek Lizard to that chassis with the long posts. So now the Modellbauregler DE Es126 is on the truck with the short posts, and the Furitek Lizard on the truck with the long posts. And no change. So the Es126 starts much earlier. And only now. And now the Furitek Lizard starts and seems to stop again. That's quite strange. I will check the app settings again. So let's go to Furicar, connect, throttle, punch 1. So let's go to punch 10, but then we have super high low RPMs, as you've seen in the tests. What now will happen? And now it still starts. Here's the Furitek Lizard. Still starts later than the Modellbauregler DE. Now the Modellbauregler DE, and now the Furitek starts, and it's much faster. So, and now punch 5. No, same story. I go back to punch 1 because I want as low throttle speed as possible. So that's rather strange. But what you can see here, I don't know if you can see it here now, with the Es126 and with the Modellbauregler DE ESCs, you can't go directly from forward to reverse. There's always a tiny little bit of brake, while with the Furitek Lizard you can go directly from forward to reverse. And with the Modellbauregler DE ESCs you cannot do this. Some crawler freaks will maybe complain, but they even write this in their manuals. I hope you can speak German. You also will find it on the web page, motor brake. So during changing polarity of the motor from forward to reverse, the ESC will brake the motor automatically. This will be safer for the battery, and that's super important. This function is super important to save the collectors of super expensive high quality motors of damage if you force the motor to go directly from forward to reverse. So that's what we do in crawlers many times, going from forward to reverse, but they don't want to do this. Those ESCs are not made for crawlers, they are made for boats. So this is a security feature. Very short break between forward and reverse. So I'm now a little bit surprised because I thought the Furitek would start earlier. Let's check how we can crawl. That's now the Es126. I can go slow, slow, slow. That's quite a slippery surface. And now let's try the same with the same truck with the Furitek Lizard. Punch 1 on brushed. And what you did see here now, what I did forget, we did already see it in the videos. Reverse is horrible, so I try to start. You can go slow, you see, that's quite nice with the Furitek Lizard too. So also the Lizard does have really, but I have to pull the trigger much further to get this. And now let's change it again and do this with the Es126. You see already with much less trigger input you can get up this step, and that's a point that's not so unimportant. Of course I can go slowly in forward, but I can also go slowly in reverse. You see, forward, reverse, same speed. And now let's try to do this with the Barrage motor and the Furitek Lizard. I have to pull throttle much farther. You can go, but it's by far not as smooth. Check this out. And now I will go reverse. So forward. Let's switch this off. Can go slow, but check the finger. But in reverse I try to do it as you can't go slow in reverse. And now again comparison. The Es126, much less trigger input. Super strange because my RPM measurements showed different results, but probably the Furitek doesn't provide as much power at low RPM to the motor. So super slow forward and super slow reverse. And finally the results will probably be the same with the ES6, but probably you want to see it too. Where do we have an ES6? Here. So let's try this with the ES126 motor. And battery. doesn't stick anymore. So now with the Es126, you see, I can go super slow reverse, super slow forward, and let's compare the start here with the, hope you can see this, Furitek Lizard, Modellbauregler DE Es126. I go as low as I can forward direction. Reverse direction. Okay. So Es126, nearly same results as, or probably the same results as the Es115, but I did calibrate throttle for the Furitek Lizard, but I think those results are a bit strange, so I will calibrate throttle again. Reconnect. Reconnect. And now, yes, now you see here we are connected. And now let's go and here's Calibrate Throttle. So do you want to start calibration? Come on. I want to show this to you. Yes, I want. So 0 speed. Okay. Max speed. Okay. What you hear, and max reverse, what you hear is the second track. Okay. And I want to save. Yes. So now it's saved and calibrated successfully. And now I did it several times. Now let's see if there's any change. No. No change at all, unfortunately. And now with that Es126 with the tiny ESC, including BSC, I can, super slow if I want, even with this cheap radios. And let's try the same thing with the same truck, with the Furitek, freshly calibrated. You see, it still doesn't run well there. And now I have to go really... It is slow. You can crawl slowly, but you have to give a lot of... And you can't crawl slowly in reverse. You can grow. You can crawl. Go slowly if you want. Watch my index finger. That's of course much better than with the stock ESCs, and what's also super nice, the Furitek Lizard is also super silent, so no noise, but you can go slowly in forward direction, super slow, but with quite a bit of throttle input. And you can't go super slow in reverse. I did not expect this when I simply crawled around with the Furitek. I thought that's the Es126. Yes, that's it for the Barrage motor. And yes, drag brake, Furitek wins. Being able to go directly from forward to reverse. You see it here. I have this short stop in the Es126. That's a security feature, but for crawling, Furitek wins. But driving in reverse direction, there is no question that the ES1215 and the ES126 will win easily against the Furitek, and to be honest, also in forward direction. Didn't expect this really. So first chapter finished, and now let's go to the SCX24s. I guess that's what all of you are most interested in. Before we test the SCX24 battery fully charged, let's make a quick test of the RPMs, of the maximum RPMs, because in theory the Furitek ESC should be about 5% slower than the Modellbauregler ESC or the Modellbauregler ESCs. So that's now the Furitek Lizard. Let's switch it on. Battery fully charged. RPMs, this works quite nicely. Hope you can see it. Full 406 RPMs, 406 point something. And now let's do the same with the Modellbauregler DE, the AS6, the AS126, the tiny one. Should in theory be a little bit faster. And yes, 439, 440, so that's even about 10% faster than the Furitek ESC, or with the Furitek ESC, theory says 5%, in reality it's even 10%. But now let's go to the SCX24s. And now let's come to my SCX24s. And for the tests I will take those 3 SCX24s. This deadbolt is totally brand new, never been driven, so I will drive it now for the first time. Labeled the radio. And all 3, the Chevy, the Betty and the deadbolt, are totally stock, but the ESC, after I changed the ESC, batteries are fully charged in all 3, and you see totally stock SCX24s. I will start with the Betty, and I will drive the Betty very shortly with the stock setup, stock ESC, and then I will put the Furitek Lizard ESC into the Betty, and we see how the changes will be. The ES1215 RW will come into the deadbolt, and my Chevy does already have an ES126 inside the electronic box. I soldered this ESC into the electronic box. I will explain in the end of the video how to mount those ESCs and what possibilities you do have. But let's first start with the Betty. Where's the radio? And I will drive all the time on high speed, of course. That's now Betty in stock setup. And you can already hear the noise of the stock ESC. But it's quite a nice crawler, so for a stock truck this is really good low speed control, modulation, no complaint. And now let's switch it off and mount the Furitek Lizard. Therefore, battery wire, motor wire, take care. That's one of the things I really hate. Why did they use the same plugs? So let's mount. I made an adapter here. Motor plug to the motor plug side. Let's put the servo plug to channel 2. And probably it would be better to put the wires on this side, but for this test I will even not use sticky tape. I think it's okay that way, is it? Yes, it is. That's the adapter for the 3-pin JST-PH. And now let's plug in battery. Of course, the radio has to be on, and then now I switch on the Furitek Lizard. And it's okay, and you see it's on reverse. I have to change motor direction, and then I will also have to calibrate it. Let's do this. Reconnect. Yes, it does. Neutral forward. Telemetry running. No, I don't want telemetry running counterclockwise. We go to clockwise. And now it should already run in correct direction. That's okay. Oh man. Is it still? Yes, it's still on. And now let's calibrate throttle. Calibrate. Yes, we want to calibrate throttle. Come on. Calibrate. Yes, we want to calibrate throttle. Why won't it? Is it? It's again disconnected. That's one of the things I really hate. It disconnects so often. So I will have to stop the video again, as I did have to do so many times when I made my brushless tests, because this does not connect, and I'll be back after it connected again. Okay guys, much later, after shutting down the cell phone and waiting for quite a bit of time, I could reconnect it again to the Bluetooth device. I'm already really upset with this. As you've seen in my older videos, I used 2 smartphones, my old, my new one. Those work flawlessly with tons of Bluetooth loudspeakers, headphones, whatever. And with the Furitek, that's always a problem. So I hope I'm still, yes, still connected. Now let's calibrate the throttle. Yes, I want to calibrate throttle. And okay, in neutral. Now maximum speed. Okay. Now maximum reverse, maximum brake. Okay. And I want to save. And now, yes, successfully calibrated throttle. So, and now we can see how the Betty does with the Furitek ESC. So it's okay as it is here now. If it should stay permanently inside, of course, I would change the wire of the servo plug and mount the ESC with a sticky tape. But now you see no noise anymore. That's super nice. No noise of the ESC. And super nice scrolling. Super nice scrolling. Possible. Check my index finger. Starts already earlier than with the Barrage motor, but to climb this I have to give nearly full throttle, but it shows quite awesome climbing behavior now. So really nice. But to climb a step needs quite a little bit of power. And in reverse, you see the problem. Check my index finger. It's not possible to drive really slow while it's super nice. Slow forward crawling is easily possible, but if there's an obstacle you have to push it quite hard. However, awesome climbing behavior, I would say, at least in forward direction. Come on, Betty. So, super cool, huge upgrade compared to the not bad stock behavior. It's a pity that it's in reverse direction. There is no real control. And now let's check my deadbolt. So that's the first drive of this deadbolt. And let's do the same. Let's first drive it quickly in stock setup. Then he has to wait. Everything nice, everything fine. You hear the noise, but you see it's not bad. But by far not as good as with the Furitek Lizard. In reverse direction I wouldn't even say if there's a difference, but the noise, check this out. In reverse direction I can go, let's stock setup. That's low, and let's try it with the Betty. In reverse direction. What's the minimum speed I can do? Check this out. Forward, okay, super nice, but reverse. In reverse direction, I guess the stock ESC is much better in low speed control. Check this out. It's much better. But it has the noise, of course. So, hey, that's not nice. Betty, forward, super nice, reverse. Who would have thought this? And now let's switch it off and let's put the Es126 into the deadboard. Same story again. Battery wire, motor wire. Don't plug it into wrong direction. Channel 2, signal white wire on the top. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Okay. And I will have to calibrate this. I have to switch it on. This ESC, that's the Es126 and in this you have to calibrate the ESC to the radio. There's a second version for the same price. The easy version, there is no difference. Only the easy version does have auto calibration, and this version you will have to calibrate the ESC to your radio, so that's more complicated, and that's why I only bought those versions, because I prefer the more complicated stuff. So let's calibrate it. Therefore, during plugging in the battery, what's always a little bit nasty with one person. So come on, off full power, and the light of the ESC will turn to green, or will light up green. Then I go to neutral, light will be off, go to full reverse, stay, and now it's calibrated, and now it's okay. I switch it off and on again, and let's mount it with simply one body pin. I hate those. Okay. And now it's on. And now let's see how it climbs, or how it does. Of course, totally silent, super nice. Check my index finger. How much do I need to climb it? I do need much less. Check this out, much less than with the Betty. Betty radio. Super nice. And then check my index finger. I have to nearly go to full throttle. I can climb super slow and super nice, and much better than in stock, but compared to this now, to the Es126, I have to give only a little bit of throttle, and then it will climb this step with the same throttle input. How can I show this to you on camera? Try to climb as slow as possible, and you see I stay here. Come on, yeah. And I can climb in reverse as slow too. So forward. And reverse. Same thing. And now let's do it again with the peddy, with the same. Hope you can see the throttle trigger. Starts but then stops. And you see I have to nearly fully, not fully, but give much more throttle, and it's impossible. So there's a big advantage of the Modellbau regler. So it drives slowly, nice, but then it stops, and then I have to give that amount of throttle to climb this step, and in reverse there is no slow speed. And again with the ES1215 starts, check, and a lot less throttle input is necessary to climb this, and there is no difference between forward and reverse. So po. This round goes without any doubt to the ES1215, and finally my Chevy, which has the ES126 inside. Oh, wrong radio. Where's the Chevy radio? Wrong radio. That's the correct radio. Let's also put one body post to the Chevy. Deadbolt Chevy. And check how the Chevy does. Absolutely same crazy stuff as in the deadbolt with the ES1215. Check it out. I hope this was my finger. I hope you're able to see that. So I try to, with my left index finger, as slow as possible. And in reverse it does have the same awesome low speed control. So I would say forward Lizard, really good improvement to stock, good crawling abilities, but reverse, even the stock was better. That's quite a bummer. But of course I'll show you this direct forward reverse, and this you can't really do with the ES126. You have always this small stop, and with the ES1215 same thing. Those ESCs, you see there's a short stop. So here the Furitek Lizard as a crawler ESC, the Modellbau regler ESCs are both ESCs, does have an advantage. Here it is. So that's it. And finally, in climbing probably there won't be a big difference. Let's climb this with the correct radio. Where's the bed radio? Here. Try to climb as smooth as possible. no problem. Brake awesome, as we know. Then let's try this with the Chevy. Oh, that's much smoother here. That's okay. No doubt. Much better. Really, much better. And now let's try the ES1215. Where's my radio? Deadbolt here. Wow. Same as the ES126. And now let's do the Betty again with the Furitek Lizard. So I have to give really a lot of throttle to climb this. So there's a, if you wouldn't try it, you won't believe it probably, but even with the low speed and crawling ability and the modulation seems to be super good in the Lizard with the Betty here, it's way better in the Chevy here with the ES12. I don't have to give throttle at all nearly. It climbs, it only climbs. Well, and of course reverse control is way better. And there's one thing more what's a plus in the ES1215 RW and in the ES126 RW. You can run them on 3S too, and don't know if you want to run your SCX24 on 3S. The Lizard, as far as I know, is not capable of 3S, and I won't do any update anymore anyway, because I will tell you later I broke one of my Lizards during update. But you can simply use 3S LiPos, and I do have this tiny 180 milliamp 3S, and this could be super cool in a top crawler super light and those larger ones. And I will put this one 3S LiPo now into the deadbolt and to show you the difference between 2S and 3S. And I don't have 3S LiPos with JST PH plugs. All of those do have the red JST or XT30 or whatever. So I made an adapter here. Better would be to make, of course, directly a JST red plug. So let's swap the battery out. Switch it off. And is there room? Yes, there's even room for this large battery. Pain with the body pins again, but here now the deadbolt on 3S. Where's the deadbolt radio? Ah, here it is. And is it faster? Yes, it's a kind of bash on 3S. So it could be nice to drive it on 3S, but check it out. You can still climb, go super slow, super slow. So I'm big. I think that's awesome. Where are the... So let's compare it in 3S. Super nice and slow. I can go slower in reverse, sorry. And let's check the Chevy on 2S compared to this. That's the Betty radio. Where's the Chevy radio? Ah, here. Super nice, super slow. But full speed. That's full speed on 2S. And now let's check the deadbolt again. That's the Betty radio. Here's the deadbolt radio on 3S. It's much faster, but it doesn't really lose any climbing abilities or low speed modulation. I hope I can show this to you. Check it out, how slow it can crawl. And I need only a little bit of throttle input. Super awesome. Wow. I love it. And yes, Lizard doesn't run on the 3S. That's only on 2S. It's super slow here, but then next thing, check my index finger, I need to give nearly full throttle to climb. It's cool, it's nice. Reverse is not that cool. That's it for the driving tests, but I know the brushless outrunners, that's the surpass motor, that's the stuff all of you like so much, and I was totally stunned when I saw the first videos with this super slow crawl, and therefore the Furitek of course is the way to go, and therefore I will show you now in this chassis the Furitek Lizard with the Furitek Komodo brushless compared to the brushed ESCs. So I will put receiver and ESC into this, and then we will compare that. And now here we have the Furitek Lizard with the Furitek Komodo brushless outrunner. Of course I calibrated throttle, set punch to 3, and with this I use my FlySky Noble. You will get this absolutely awesome low speed behavior. As you can see here, it's already climbing. It's already climbing, it's already climbing, so that's of course totally different. But as you've seen, you can climb very slow, slow, go, and then there is this RPM jump for about 1000 RPMs. I made tests of this, so you have this super slow crawl. Question is, for what you will use it? It looks absolutely awesome. You can do this simply with your throttle. You see I have throttle trim now to 100 and it won't stop, so the power is absolutely awesome. My Chevy, what's your problem, Chevy? Chevy complains because he cannot do this, so this looks absolutely awesome, fantastic.
Center point.
But for crawling you won't use this really. And then you have this. That's super nice. But you do also have the downsides of the huge motor. I do, for example, have the problems here. I can't put the motor in forward direction. You would have to cut this electronics plates anyway. But this will be my RC Athletes tribute to SCX24, and there is no room for the huge outrunner. And it also doesn't have that much punch, so climbing this is not that easy with the outrunner compared to, for example, the Boeing 3S deadbolt. I do only have to search to find the radio. Oh no, here it is. So check this out. Of course it can't climb that slow, but this is much easier with the 3S deadbolt with the brushed motor and the ES1215, and with the 2S it's also much easier. Stay in place. So check this out. So here it will stop, but even if those are stock tires, stock SCX24 tires, and those are super cool upgrade tires, and of course upgrade metal rims, it's not so easy. It does not have the same punch as the brushed motors. It's quite a surprise for me. And those tires are awesome. They are super sticky. The stock SCX24 tires are by far not that good. As good. I can go super slow. Yes, and now it does climb. And if we make it even a little bit more difficult, super slow climb or crawl. Now is the jump, and that's normally the speed you would use for crawling, isn't it? So I go. It did do it now. Okay. Thumbs up. I did already have problems with this obstacle, and now the 3S deadbolt. Super easy. With the stock deadbolt tires. Wow. So it's easier with the deadbolt on 3S than with the totally upgraded SCX24 with the brushless outrunner, and also with the... That's a big surprise. Of course, that's has to do something with the weight. Probably battery should be here, whatever. But the motor in forward direction would be nice, but it's not possible always. So it climbs, but not so much better, and I don't doubt it's much stronger. That's of course fact. But you should consider if you really need brushless or if you would be happy with the brushed. Honestly, in my opinion, I really, even on 2S, I love my Chevy even in stock. I do have so many upgrade rims and tires, but still didn't change anything because I always want to have a possibility to compare it to absolutely stock. So this Chevy, super cool. Absolutely stock setup. Only thing changed, ES126 RW ESC. I guess that's enough for all the drive tests, and now let's make some final comparisons and conclusions. So let's finally compare those ESCs a little bit in general. You see I do have 3 Furitek lizards here. That one is already adapted for the brushed motor, because they do come with a plug 3-pin JST-PH for the brushless motor, and if you would wanna plug a brushed motor in, that's not the plug that's meant for this. You could force it, of course. I made for this, for the tests, I made an adapter, JST-PH 3-pin to 2-pin. What is one advantage of the Furitek, you could think, is the Furitek ESC does come with an on-off plug. This tiny switch here, it's quite nasty to use sometimes, but meanwhile I do not think anymore that's a big advantage, because if you plug your truck, your SCX24 off and let the battery still be plugged to the ESC, the lizard will draw your battery to totally empty to 1.5 or even 0 volts within one night. I did draw this battery 2 times, I forgot it, to 1.5 volts, and then I finally made a test to prove this to you with a super old battery and check what happens if you let the battery on the Furitek ESC, even if it's switched off overnight. Check this out. So I take a super old battery for this from 2012, but it still works fine. One of my super old custom made Haley batteries. Drove a little bit, but still nearly full, as you see. 4 point something. And works fine. So still works. 4.10 something volts per cell. Switched it off.
Signal lost.
And now it's 6 p.m. and 14 minutes on Wednesday, 4th of August. And now let's wait and see tomorrow. Okay guys, one day later, Thursday, 5th of August, 22 hours later, 4 p.m. about. And now let's try to switch the ESC on. Nothing. Nothing. Let's take battery out, the old one, and check the voltage. Nothing. This battery now does even have a little bit of power in it. It's totally empty. I did already ruin this one. You see, voltmeter works. But the battery is totally empty. I made it accidentally already with another one of those of mine, and I had 1.3 volts per cell then. So unfortunately, the Furitek Lizard ESC drains power from your battery even if it's switched off. That's quite a bummer. Better to make on-off switch, and that way force people to plug off the batteries, and so not having the risk to totally ruin the battery. So super dangerous, and take care. Plug your battery off or you will lose it overnight. I have 3 lizards, those from April, and this is the new one. That's a new one that was sent to me by Furitek, top customer service, for free for replacement for this Furitek lizard. That's a brand new lizard, never used, and it froze during update. I made the update when I got it, connected it to Bluetooth and it stopped at 4%. I tried quite a lot of time, no chance, so it's gone. Unfortunately, I contacted Furitek customer service. They told me that AsiaTees should replace it and they will write to AsiaTees. I bought my first from AsiaTees. They never did. Tony from Furitek tried a lot, really super helpful. And after 3 months, Furitek from Vietnam replaced the broken Furitek Lizard ESC. And now I'm really afraid updating those ESCs again, because don't know what could happen. And what I really do not like, what you did see in this video and even more in my previous videos about the brushless motors, I don't like the Bluetooth connection. I don't know what the problem is. It's not only me. I heard already from several people. I do have huge troubles with disconnecting and then not being able to connect again. So that's really annoying. And that's with the older version and with the new version. The same with both of my smartphones, my old one, my new one. I use them and they work with all Bluetooth devices flawlessly. The only exception is the GoPro app that also does always disconnect. So that's about the Furitek's. Brushless ESC meant for the awesome brushless motors, but also works for brushed, so for sure an awesome ESC, and I really think that stuff is super cool. However, in brushed, the Modellbauregler DE crawl better, in my opinion. What are the downsides of the Modellbauregler DE ESCs? The Furitek does have drag brake. The Es126 and Es125 do not have a drag brake, and as you have seen with the Furitek, you can go directly from forward to reverse as we are used in crawlers, and with the Modellbauregler DE ESCs you are not able to do this. There's a very short brake. That's for security reasons. That should be a feature, a quality feature. They do it. Those ESCs are totally bulletproof, huge, thick wires, and that's a positive, and sometimes for us maybe here a negative. Those ESCs are not meant for tiny crawlers. Those are meant for boats and also super popular in construction models. So this super high quality, super expensive stuff. The tiny one, the Es126, is also sold in a version with wires. I don't have it. I bought only the version without wires because I love soldering and all this stuff. But I show you a picture here. So for those of you who are afraid of soldering, they can also buy the tiny one with wires. And as the big one here, that's the Es125 RW. And the wires are thick, but there's a ton of room. So this would be a super easy soldering job if you want to replace the wires for the motor and for the battery and shorten the servo wire that's so long, because it seems that in boats, in ships, that's necessary. But if you're really afraid of soldering, you could also cut the wire and make a plug at the end. Motor wire is quite sturdy, and the battery wires too. They are bulletproof. That's the problem with the Furitek's. They seem to be not bulletproof. And finally the question, yes, that small one doesn't have a BSC, but I did already show you that at least for the SCX24 you would not need a BSC. You can use this ESC without BSC. In the small RGTs, Rockaby Katana, Atlas 6x6, all the CR18, CR24s, you have those 3-in-1 units, which do have an ESC in the receiver and no place for channel 2 where you can plug an ESC. So in this, you will have to change the whole electronics unit if you want to use the original radio, you will have to buy one of those small turbo racing receivers, or you use your own radio gear. Then you have a receiver, normal receiver, with some sticky tape on top here, where you plug in your servo and your ESC, and this ESC needs a PEC. But in the SCX24, you can use the PEC of the stock electronics, and I will show you this now on the Betty. Check this one out. This does have a PEC too. So check this out. That's a ES126 without PEC. What did I do? I did simply solder or place. You can do it also in front of the ESC. You don't have to solder to the ESC. I made a direct connection, a Y cable, battery plug in to the ESC, and I made a Y, and this I will plug into the battery port of the original SCX24 unit. So you don't have to make this connection here. You could simply make a Y cable here, and I will show it to you now on the Betty how simple this is. And then you will use the stock PEC and the ES126 ESC, PEC, ESC. So in the Betty, it's, come on, Betty. So plug in the signal wire, you don't need a plus then, into channel 2. This will go, battery goes in there, and here battery comes out too. So check it out. I simply plug it into the unit. Then I have to take the motor wire, plug the motor to the ESC2. Take care not to plug the battery into the motor wires. And here I have the battery plug now, and I can plug in the battery into this plug. First radio on. You'll have to switch the receiver ESC unit on so that the ESC will get a signal, and then plug it in and check this out. Same stuff without PEC, so it's not necessary to use a PEC if you wanna use one of those ESCs with your SCX24. The only downside is if you don't use a PEC, you can only run it on 2S, not on 3S, of course, because the SCX24 receiver unit is not meant for 3S. And if not, if you want to do all this stuff, I know so many of you are afraid of this. I'm surprised. I didn't expect this when I made my first video. Buy the version, if you would like to buy it, with wires. The smaller one with wires, I don't know if they are as thick, probably nearly as thick. And then buy plugs or crimp or solder the plugs to the ESC and then use it. Those plugs are called JST-PH, and what you need is both male and female, and you can buy them with wires and without wires. So you can buy them for crimping and soldering, or even already ready to use. I warn you, do not buy those super cheap ones. You get them for nearly nothing on eBay or on AliExpress. So those ones, I guess those are male and female, they have super thin PVC coated wires which melt easily, are not flexible at all. I use those for some tests or whatever, but they are awful. Don't buy them. Spend a little bit more money. if you want to buy the plugs already with wires and search in drone shops, they all do have those with 22 or 24 gauge silicone coated wire. They are not super cheap, but they're also not super expensive, and you get this in perfect quality. Those are super popular in drones, but of course you can also make your own plugs by crimping or soldering. And that's the, I guess that's even the female part, the plastic without contacts. You have to crimp this. Those small contacts, you won't be able to crimp it with a normal crimping tool you would use for servo plugs. You need a special tool. I have this small engineer crimping pliers. I love them for crimping those. This part which goes into the receiver is always to be crimped, and the battery part, however, how you want to call it, and the part of the ESC battery in. There are two versions. The new version, JSTPH, the little larger version, but more secure, not to plug it out, not to pull the wires and the connectors out. Those are for crimping. You again will need a special crimping tool, those ones. But the elder version, you get them everywhere. Those are those ones. They are simply for soldering, and that's a super easy soldering job. If you do so, always use a mail, or however you would call it, on the other side, because if those pins get warm and hot, they will melt easily the housing and they will not be straight anymore. So solder them, use a little bit of shrink tube, and that's fine. That's not so difficult. And if you want to nearly ready to run, you get them in drone shops for few bucks. And the same with the BECs. I don't know why people are so afraid of BECs. In my first video, the long one where I tested many of those ESCs, so many had problems. I show you some BECs I use in those. I soldered the BEC directly to the Es126, a tiny Martec, but that's not a super easy soldering job, and it's not necessary. The BEC doesn't have to be near to the ESC. So I used those ones, or those tiny ones. You can use each BEC with 5 to 6 volts out. Most of those tiny ones do have 5 volts. You get them everywhere for cheap, for $1-2. But if you're afraid, buy a BEC with wires. That's so super easy. Then you will also get BECs, of course, with plugs, but I don't have it. You see that you have an in and an out, and what you can do if you want to use a BEC or need a BEC for your Rokkobi Katana or whatever, you take the ESC that does already come with wires, then you buy the wired version. It's a little bit more expensive. You have the battery out here, so the battery into the ESC, make a Y connection here, and here's the battery plug, which should be one of those then, and you connect this in parallel, and this goes to the third port of the SCX24 unit. So you can plug the power. You see there are a lot of free ports, and you can, are there? Yes, there are. And you can plug the BEC into each of those ports. Then you can use the SCX24 on 3S, and if you have a normal receiver, you put it on an aux port. So you put the out of the ESC to channel 2 as always, and you put the out of the BEC to any free channel to power up all this. So I think this shouldn't be so difficult. And if you get the ESCs already with wires, cut the stuff and make a small soldering. It's super easy, really. But I admit the Furitek ESCs are much better in that way for people who wanna have it ready to run or plug and play. I'm not that guy. I would even prefer to buy the Furitek ESCs without wires and to make my own wires and plugs. So positive for the Furitek for sure. You can simply use it, and you can even simply, without changing or making an adapter, force the motor plug into the plug for the brushless motor which has 3 pins. And availability is a difficult thing. I heard or I saw that already a main hobby in the United States now stocks and sells the Furitek ESCs. That's of course absolutely awesome. So they are very easy to get for the guys in the United States, probably even with free shipping. But here in Europe it's a little bit different. If I buy 2, I pay, I guess it's around $100, one with, one without Bluetooth unit. Then shipping is with UPS, I hate this, is $20, and then you have your UPS will make custom service for you. You have to pay $20 more customs, and about 10 or even more, $15 for their work they charge you. So that's then, if I order those from Furitek in Vietnam, I pay 100 to Furitek, and finally I pay 150. I bought my first ones from Asia Tees. They have free shipping from $100 up, and I didn't have to pay customs, wasn't charged. Good luck. But here in Europe there was a big change on the 1st of July, so I don't know if it would be still free, customs free. The Modellbauregler DE ESCs, they are of course sold by the shop of Modellbauregler DE in Germany, and shipping is €8, also for me in Austria. So I guess worldwide shipping is €8. That's about $10. That's expensive for me because I'm in a neighbor country, but it's cheap if it would be to the United States or Canada, I guess. The small ones, they are €20, about $23, but you can buy a pack of 6 for 100, what I did 2 times. So then one is only 16.66, so $19. The version with wires is, I guess, 23, and the larger one, the Es126 in both versions, so with auto calibration and with manual calibration, is €33, I guess. That's about less than $40. But shipping €8, I guess, yeah, that's worldwide, that's not super expensive. At least for us it's not expensive. I know a main hobby sends stuff to me for less than a shop in Austria sends to me, from the United States to Austria compared from Austria to Austria. And I did already order quite a lot of stuff at a main, but only when it was below €22. Otherwise I would have to pay customs always. And we don't have this €22 free anymore. Since 1st of July, you have to pay customs for every purchase from outside, and the problem are not the 20% customs, but the problem are the post and the UPS, DHL and whatever. They make this for you and they charge you fees for their work. And so if you buy something for whatever, €30, for example, pay €6 customs, that's okay. And then you pay 10 or 12 or 15, depending on company and what mood they have. I don't know, it's always different more, so it makes things way more expensive. I don't know how it's in other countries, for example, which are not in European Union, Norway or Australia, Canada. Probably they do have the same problems as we have. Yeah, in the United States it's much easier. But I guess it would also not be so difficult to buy those from Germany. And here in Europe, several shops for construction models mainly, so those super high quality, super expensive stuff, they do sell the ESCs from Modellbauregler DE. I did also find them in Austria already, in Salzburg in a shop. But I don't know if they are sold overseas too. I guess not. But €8, yeah, $10. Huh. I guess that's the end of this video now. So I hope you can make your decision. We can compare those ESCs. Furitek positive for sure. It is brushless too, but if you don't want to buy or modify your SCX24 for brushless, that doesn't help you. It's more expensive than the Modellbauregler DE ESCs. It does have an on-off switch, what's bad in my opinion, because this on-off switch, if you forget to switch it off, it will draw your battery to dead. But it's plug and play. That's the most important thing. And the Bluetooth app where you can change settings would be super cool too if it would work all the time. But what I do not like so much is that they seem not to be bulletproof. So a brand new, not this one, the other one, a brand new ESC which froze during update and a lot of problems with the Bluetooth stuff. Driving is really nice in forward direction on brush. Low speed, it's quite okay, but reverse direction, I think that's quite poor. That's not really good in reverse direction. However, it will be a big upgrade for your SCX24 and the easiest way to do it. And the ES126 and the ES125 from Modellbauregler.de, they are not plug and play. That's for many of you the most important thing, I guess. So you will have to at least make your own plugs to the ESCs. The small one, the ES126, does come without BSC, doesn't have a BSC. If you only want to use it in your SCX24 and 2S, no problem. But if you want to use 3S too, then you will have to buy a BSC. Not a problem of price, $1, $2, $3, but you have to assemble all this stuff. What's a disadvantage of the Furitek Lizard, if you want so, is you can't use it on 3S, while you can't use the Modellbauregler.de ESCs on 3S. You saw it works awesome. If you want a really powerful crawler, maybe you should go 3S. Driving abilities of the Modellbauregler.de ESCs, as you've seen, I guess there is no question which are better in reverse, no question at all, but even in forward direction, I would give this to the Modellbauregler.de ESCs. No drag brake, no direct front, forward, reverse are the disadvantages, but it's on you to choose what's best for you. Here I sum up all the plus and minus, and I hope I gave you more than enough information to know for you now what's the best ESC for your microcrawler, for your SCX24 or for your Rockaby Katana Atlas 6x6, whatever tiny crawler. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. I'll be back.